the incredible privilege and joy to have visited almost 40 countries across the world. I've seen some magnificent things, experienced some dramatic and exotic cultures, tasted some delicious foods, experienced the hospitality and the warmth of many peoples, of many nations. I've sat and visited with heads of state, with heads of companies, and with ordinary people in virtually every part of this world, whether Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Lebanon, Turkey, Egypt, 9 times to Israel, to Russia, to all parts of Asia, Europe, Central America. But in all of my travels and in all of the ways in which I've touched other parts of the world, I've yet to find any country, as enchanted as I was with it, for which I would even consider for a moment giving up my citizenship in the United States of America to trade it for residence anywhere else on earth. We are a special nation. And we are a special nation because throughout our history, we have been people who have made choices rather than simply echo the voices of others. I know that there is some speculation that I might come here today to announce that I would be getting out of the race, but I want to make sure you understand. Am I quitting? Well, let's get that settled right now. No, I'm not. And the reason is simple. Because I go back to that which helped crystallize in me a conservative viewpoint as a teenager when it wasn't easy or popular to be a Republican or a conservative in my hometown. Because I do believe that America is about making choices, not simply echoing that of others. Let others join the Me Too crowd. But I didn't get where I am today, and I didn't fight the battles in a state that, when I became its governor, was 90% Democrat by simply echoing the voices of others. I did it by staking out a choice, stating that choice, making that choice, and fighting for that choice to believe that some things were right, some things were wrong, and it's better to be right and even to not win than it is to be wrong and to be a part of the crowd. When I was a teenager, there was a phrase that came late in the 60s and early 70s that sort of was a mantra for many of us as conservatives. And quite frankly, I remember it on bumper strips. It said, "My country, right or wrong." And I guess many of us subscribe to that view that it is my country, right or wrong. But the real history of that statement goes back to the 1800s with a senator from Missouri named Carl Schurz, who served from 1869 to 1875. A German immigrant who came to this country, later elected to the U.S. Senate, once served in a president's cabinet after that, died in the early 1900s. But the full context of the statement is this. He said, "My country, right or wrong, when it's right, we will keep it right. And when it's wrong, we will make it right." And ladies and gentlemen, that ought to be the heart cry of every conservative. When it is right, we will keep it right. But when it is wrong, we will make it right. I want to say again that freedom does not exist in a vacuum. It has to have moral clarity. We have to believe that murder, lying, stealing are wrong. Our freedom doesn't work. Freedom has to always operate in the context in which responsibility is the other wing of the airplane on our individual freedom and choice. If we as a nation ever fail to understand that, then we will disintegrate and become like many of the cultures that we today have to confront and in fact fight, who do not believe that it is wrong to murder, even to murder one's own child for the sake of the political cause of Islamofascism. What separates us from that very culture out to destroy us is that it never would be conceivable to us that we would strap a bomb to the belly of our own children and march our own child into a room full of innocent people to detonate the bomb in order to make a political point. Because we believe some things are right and some things are wrong. And we would believe it wrong to kill our own children for a purpose beneath that. But we also believe that there are some things that are right. For example, As conservatives, we believe that it is right to protect the sovereignty of the United States and to make sure that we never, ever, for any circumstance, under any purpose, ever yield 1 ounce of our sovereignty over to some international tribunal. That's why we have to fight. That's why we need to fight against the law of the sea treaty and make sure that it gets a good burial at sea. That's why we should say no to Kyoto, because it's not giving over our sovereignty. And it's why that any time some United States judge who has taken an oath to the Constitution of the United States should invoke some international law as a basis upon which to make a decision, he should be summarily impeached for having done so. It is right. It is right to have a strong military. In fact, one of the mistakes that we have made is we have allowed ourselves to believe that the peace dividend of the Clinton administration is something that is anything less than has become now the war deficit, because we have failed to keep our military spending up to the level at which we can have the troop strength that we desperately need. That's why in the next election cycle, and hopefully in the next administration, we will return to the kind of at least GDP spending that we had during the Reagan years, because quite frankly, the quickest path and the surest path to peace is to make sure that we have the kind of military that no one on earth wants to engage in a battle knowing full well they don't stand a chance. It is right. It is right for us to be on the offense against Islamofascism and not wait until they attack us. And on this, we need to salute the President for the fact that he has not been willing to wait until they attack us again on our soil. Let us